for coming up with that. It is time for Sleep Wisdom Wednesday, and this is going to be my last live in the series I've been doing about underlying health issues and how they're affecting our sleep. But I just wanted to talk about the tests that I do in my program so that we can kind of combine everything that I've been talking about the last 5 weeks and the tests that I do, and so how those comprehensively look at everything that's going on in your body that could be affecting your sleep and your health and how to fix it. So what's cool about these tests is that they are actually sent to your home, so you can do them in the comfort of your own home. So there's no need to go to a lab and get blood drawn or anything like that. All of these are either dried urine testing or blood spot testing, where you just prick your finger and put little drops of blood on a card. There is a stool test as well. And so it's mainly those types. And then you send them back in and we get the results in a couple of weeks. So let's get into the tests that I do with my clients. So the first one is a food allergy test, and it also tests for Candida. So this is an IgG test. It's testing for antibodies that your body might be producing for certain foods to show what you're sensitive to. Some people are sensitive to things that seem very healthy, like broccoli, or that seem very easy to digest, like rice. But if the reason we need to know this is because if you're eating these foods and you're sensitive to them, they are damaging your gut wall and they're causing inflammation. And as you've already learned, when you have inflammation, your body releases cortisol to deal with that inflammation. And so if you're having constant inflammation from eating these foods, then your body's going to still be inflamed in the night, and your body's going to be releasing cortisol in the night, which is going to wake you up. It's also cool because it tests for Candida as well, which can be really hard to detect. So if you have Candida is a fungus that is present in all of our bodies, but if it overgrows and takes over, then it can cause a lot of troubles. And so if you get like yeast infections frequently, if your tongue is coated white, if you have a lot of cravings for sweets, it could be Candida. It can also be a parasite and other pathogens, but it could definitely be Candida as well. So that's why we test for that. The second test I do is called the Dutch test, which I talked about when I talked about hormones. And so this is a comprehensive hormone test. And it's testing for sex hormones and adrenal hormones like cortisol. And what's cool about it is that it not only just tests for levels of cortisol one time, it's testing for them throughout a 24-hour period. And it's also showing you the different forms of cortisol and how those are metabolized in the body as well. So that's a very important test, because if you have extremely high levels of cortisol, then it shows that you are under stress all the time, and it's probably going to be affecting your other steroid sex hormones like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, because your body isn't going to have enough resources to make those hormones when it's constantly producing cortisol. So that is the point of that Dutch test, to test the sex and adrenal hormones. The next test I do is a GI map, and this is the fun stool test, but this gives us so much information about what's going on in your gut. It's going to tell us if you have a parasite. It's going to tell us if you have bacteria like C. diff or H. pylori, which are not good to have, so they can cause all kinds of problems. It's going to test for worms. It's also going to test for your good bacteria, so we're able to see the good versus the bad bacteria. It tests for antibiotic resistant genes and gives us other intestinal health and immune markers. So that is the purpose of this GI map. It gives us so much information as to what's going on in your gut. and what's going on in your gut is so important for what's going on in your overall health and the rest of your body. Now, the next test I do is a thyroid panel, and this is going to test for all the markers of thyroid function. So I talked a lot more about this last week, but a lot of tests just test for TSH, the thyroid stimulating hormone, and don't test for anything else, or they just test for T4, but your body actually has to convert T4 to T3 to be used. So we need to be testing for all of those factors, as well as if your body is producing antibodies to the thyroid, which if about 90% of people who have hypothyroidism also have the autoimmune condition called Hashimoto's of the thyroid as well. And that's really important to know. So, of course, if your thyroid isn't healthy, that's going to affect your sleep, and it's going to affect, even if you are sleeping, whether you feel rested or not the next day. So that's why we want to do this comprehensive test to find out what's going on with the thyroid. Now, the last test I do is a hair tissue mineral analysis. And this is going to give us mineral status and show also if you have toxic metal accumulation like mercury or aluminum or copper that can be causing inflammation and, again, causing you to wake up at night. So our minerals are all balanced with each other too. And so this gives a very in-depth look at your mineral status and how they're interacting with each other. And also if your gut is absorbing these nutrients from foods, because you could be eating all the right foods, but if your gut isn't healthy, then it's not going to absorb them. And so that can explain a lot of what's going on with the minerals in your body, as well as if you have these toxic ones. And that's actually a hair test that you send in. You can just cut some hair from close to your scalp and send that in. So that's probably the easiest one. So those are the 5 tests that I do. It's the food sensitivity, the hormone, the Dutch test, the GI map, the thyroid panel, and then the hair tissue mineral analysis. So if you're interested in having these tests done, Alan, thanks for joining. I know that you are in the process of doing these tests and sending them away and excited to get the results. But again, they're going to tell us so much that's going on with your health and why you aren't sleeping. And so once I find that, then I get to go into detective mode and, look at all the information I have about your lifestyle, your habits, what you're eating, and these lab results, and figure out why you aren't sleeping. And the best thing is then fix it. So thanks for joining me today. Starting next week, I'm going to be getting away from the science and more back into some lifestyle practical things. I'm going to post a poll in the Facebook group as to what you would like for me to talk about next, so that this can be for what you're interested in. I know a lot of you talk about you aren't sleeping and affect your productivity and your energy, so definitely can get into some of those things. But I want this group to be for what you want to learn about. And so we'll be in touch in the group. Thanks, Alon, for joining me, and I will see you all soon.